When Luke Tanner first saw the stretch of golden land beneath the Arizona sky, he thought he had finally found peace. After years of wandering from one cattle job to another, after long days on horseback and cold nights beside smoky campfires, he had saved enough money to buy a ranch of his own. The land was cheap because few people wanted to live so close to the old Apache territory. But Luke didn't fear the stories people told. He believed in hard work, quiet living, and respect for others. The small house standing on the edge of the property looked tired. Its wooden porch leaned a little, and the roof had a few missing shingles. The fences were broken in places, and tumbleweeds rolled lazily across the field. Yet to Luke, it was beautiful. It was a place where no one would order him around or judge him by how much he owned. It was his land, his sky, his chance to begin again. On his first night, Luke sat on the porch with a cup of coffee and watched the sunset paint the sky orange and red. The crickets began to sing, and the wind whispered through the dry grass. He leaned back, took a deep breath, and thought, maybe this is what home feels like. The next morning, as he began mending the corral fence, he noticed 2 horses tied near the old spring. He looked closer and saw 2 young Apache women standing there, their long, dark hair shining in the sunlight. They wore simple dresses made of soft leather and beads around their necks. They were watching him quietly, their faces calm but curious. Luke wiped his hands on his jeans and walked toward them. "Morning," he said in a friendly tone. "Can I help you?" The older woman nodded politely. "We are not here to trouble you," she said softly. "My name is Maya, and this is my sister, Tala. Our people once cared for the spring on this land. We still come here to make sure it stays clean. We did not know someone had bought this place." Luke took off his hat, showing respect. "You don't have to worry. The spring's yours to visit anytime. I'm not here to stop anyone from what's right." Maya's lips curved in a small smile. Tala's eyes, bright and lively, studied him for a moment. "Most men from town don't talk that way," she said teasingly. "They act like they own everything they touch." Luke gave a small smile. "Well, I don't. I just take care of what I can." That simple answer changed something between them. From that day, the 2 sisters began stopping by often. Sometimes they brought herbs or baskets they had made. Other times they helped Luke repair the barn or tend to the horses. In return, Luke shared his coffee, biscuits, and quiet company. Maya was calm and thoughtful. Her words always carried a kind of gentle wisdom, as if she could see farther than anyone else. Tala, younger and full of energy, laughed often and wasn't afraid to speak her mind. She teased Luke about his serious face, calling him the quiet cowboy who talks more to horses than people. Luke had never been around anyone like them. Their presence filled the empty ranch with warmth and life. When they laughed, it seemed the air itself turned lighter. Some evenings he found himself waiting for the sound of their horses' hooves, pretending he was still busy fixing something when they arrived. One evening, as the sun dipped low, the sisters came to help paint the fence. They worked together, the smell of fresh wood mixing with wildflowers. Tala hummed a soft song, and Maya explained its meaning. It was about the wind that carried blessings across the land. Luke listened quietly, his brush slowing as he watched the 2 women move gracefully, their laughter echoing in the warm light. After the day's work, clouds gathered, and rain began to fall. The 3 of them ran to the porch laughing as drops splashed their faces. Luke brought out a blanket, and Tala pulled it around herself and Maya. She grinned and said, "Cowboy, you'll catch cold standing out there." He shrugged, his hat dripping rain. "I've had worse," he said with a half-smile. Maya looked at him, her expression soft. She saw something behind that calm voice, a deep loneliness that words couldn't hide. She realized then that Luke was a man who had lost things in life but still stood strong. The next morning, Luke found small bundles of herbs hanging by his door. Maya had left them there for good luck. Tala had carved a wooden horse and placed it near the corral. It was her way of saying the land accepted him. He touched both gifts with care and felt something shift inside him. Weeks turned into months. Luke, Maya, and Tala built a rhythm together. They shared stories by the fire. Maya spoke of her ancestors who watched over the spring. Tala told stories about mischief and bravery, and Luke shared tales of cattle drives and long rides under endless stars. Their worlds slowly blended, and soon they were no longer strangers. But in the small town nearby, people began to talk. Some said the cowboy had gone strange, letting Apache girls live and work on his ranch. Others whispered it was more than friendship. Luke paid no attention to gossip. He had learned long ago that what people said didn't change what was right. One afternoon, a land agent rode in with a black briefcase and a proud smile. "Mr. Tanner," he said, "the government is expanding the survey. That spring of yours might be included in the new line. You'll have to sign these papers so we can close it off." Luke's jaw tightened. "That spring's been cared for by their family for generations," he said, motioning to Maya and Tala. "It's not right to fence it off." The agent shrugged. "It's just land, Tanner. You own it now, not them. Times are changing." He left the papers and rode away, leaving dust behind. Maya's face was calm, but her eyes looked distant. Tala's fists were clenched. "They always take what they want," she muttered bitterly. That night, the three of them sat by the campfire. The flames danced, casting soft light on their faces. Luke stared into the fire, silent for a long time. Then Maya spoke. "You didn't come here just to own land, Luke. The earth doesn't belong to people." "We belong to it." Luke nodded slowly. "You're right," he said. "And I'll protect it as long as I'm here." Tala looked up at him, her eyes shining in the firelight. "If that's true, then maybe you should marry the two of us," she said boldly. Luke froze. The words hung in the air like the echo of thunder. "What?" he asked, unsure if she was joking. Maya's face was calm but serious. "Tala doesn't speak in jest tonight," she said softly. "If we are one family, no one can take this land away. It would stay whole, part of our people and part of yours." Luke's heart began to race. He looked at the two women across the flames, their faces strong and kind, their spirits tied to this place as much as the wind and water. He felt the weight of their trust, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel like a wanderer anymore. The night grew still. The fire crackled softly. Outside, the rain began to fall again, tapping gently on the roof of the porch. Luke didn't answer yet. His thoughts were too full, his heart too uncertain. But something deep inside him knew that his life was about to change forever. Luke could not sleep that night. The sound of rain on the roof mixed with the memory of Tala's voice, her words echoing again and again in his mind. "You should marry the two of us." He had lived alone for so long that the thought of sharing his life with anyone felt impossible. And yet he couldn't deny the warmth he felt when he remembered their faces in the firelight. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving the land washed clean. The smell of wet earth filled the air. Luke stepped outside and saw the sun breaking through the clouds. The two sisters were already near the corral, tending to the horses as if nothing had happened. Maya looked calm as always, brushing her mare's mane while Tala was singing softly to a young colt. Luke walked toward them slowly. "Morning," he said. Tala turned, smiling. "You think too much, Cowboy." The sky cleared, see? No need to look like thunder. Maya glanced at her sister, then at Luke. "We did not mean to trouble your heart," she said kindly. "Tala speaks from feeling, not from demand." Luke nodded, but his voice was low. "I know. Still, what you said, it wasn't small. I've never known anyone to offer something so—" He paused, searching for the right word. "Honest." Tala laughed softly. "Honest hearts don't make rules," she said. "They just speak what they feel." They all went back to work after that. Luke mended a broken section of fence while the sisters gathered herbs and fed the chickens. The air between them was quiet but gentle, no longer heavy with confusion. That afternoon, Luke went to town to speak to the land officer again. He rode his horse down the dusty road and stopped outside the office. The same man who had brought the papers was there smoking a cigar by the window. "Back again, Tanner," the man said. "You ready to sign those forms?" Luke's voice was firm. "No, I came to tell you that the spring stays open. It's not just water. It's sacred land to the people who cared for it before I came here." The man smirked. "You're talking about those two Apache girls, aren't you? You really think they'll thank you when the law takes it anyway?" Luke leaned forward, calm but steady. "I don't care what anyone thinks. The law says the land's mine, so the spring stays free. That's final." The officer grumbled something under his breath but didn't argue further. Luke turned and left, his boots echoing on the wooden porch. He felt no pride in what he'd done, only peace. It was the right thing, and that was enough. When he returned to the ranch, Maya and Tala were waiting by the gate. They could tell from his face that something had changed. "You spoke for us," Maya said softly. I spoke for what's right, Luke replied. Tala smiled. That's why the wind listens to you now. Over the following days, life on the ranch began to feel different. Luke built a small shelter near the spring, so the sisters could visit and pray without worry. He planted willow trees along the bank to keep the soil from washing away. Maya showed him how to find healing plants near the creek, and Tala taught him songs that called rain during dry months. Sometimes at dusk they would sit together on the porch. Tala would hum a tune and Maya would translate its meaning. It says that people who walk the same path will share one heartbeat, she explained one evening. Luke didn't reply, but something about those words stayed in his chest long after the stars appeared. The townspeople kept talking, of course. Some said Luke was foolish. Others said he had gone wild. But when the traders came to his ranch for hay or water, they saw the truth for themselves. The land was thriving, the spring was clear, and the cowboy they once called strange looked happier than ever. One evening, as the sun set in streaks of gold and red, Luke noticed Tala sitting by the spring alone. He walked down to her quietly. She was throwing pebbles into the water, watching the ripples spread. "You thinking about something?" he asked gently. She looked up with a smile that didn't quite hide her sadness. "About my mother," she said. "She told us once that when we find a man who respects the land, we should never let him walk away. I think she meant someone like you." Luke's throat felt tight. He sat beside her and looked at the reflection of the sky in the water. "I don't know what kind of man I am," he said softly, "but I know this place feels right when you and your sister are here." Tala nodded. "Then stay that way," she whispered. The next morning, Maya came to him with a folded piece of cloth. Inside was an old silver band with turquoise stones. "It belonged to our grandfather," she said. "He wore it when he promised to guard this land with his life. We want you to wear it now." Luke looked down at the ring, speechless. "I don't deserve this." "You already do," Maya replied. He put the ring on, feeling its cool weight. It wasn't a symbol of ownership. It was a promise, a joining of trust between them and the land they all loved. Days passed peacefully until a letter arrived from the town office. It confirmed what Luke had hoped. The spring and its surrounding land would remain untouched, officially marked as part of the Tanner Ranch. When he told Maya and Tala, they both smiled with quiet pride. That evening, they prepared a small feast by the spring. Maya cooked corn and beans in a clay pot. Tala roasted bread on open fire, and Luke brought dried meat and coffee. As they ate together, the wind grew softer, as if it carried the blessing of something unseen. After the meal, Maya stood and faced Luke. "We spoke before about joining lives," she said. "We do not ask for a ceremony or a preacher. We only ask that we share this land as one family in peace." Luke rose slowly. He looked at both sisters, at the glow of firelight on their faces, and at the spring that sparkled like a mirror under the stars. He felt no fear now, only gratitude. He took Maya's hand gently, then Tala's. "I may not understand all the old ways," he said, "but I know when something is true. And this, what we have, is true." The sisters smiled, their eyes shining. They each placed a small strand of woven grass around his wrist, a symbol of unity in their tribe. Then Maya said softly, "Now when the wind moves through these hills, it will know 3 hearts beat here together." From that night on, the ranch felt alive in a new way. The spring became the heart of the land, and the people who came there saw more than fences or crops. They saw harmony. Luke worked the fields with renewed strength. Tala rode horses beside him, laughing at his attempts to learn her songs, and Maya kept the home warm with her calm wisdom. The years rolled gently by. The seasons painted the land in gold, green, and silver snow. When travelers passed through, they spoke of a strange peace that seemed to live in the air around the Tanner Ranch. They said the cowboy there smiled now, that 2 Apache women helped him run the place, and that kindness ruled stronger than law. Sometimes at night, Luke sat by the spring with his coffee, watching the moonlight on the water. He could hear laughter from the house, Tala's quick voice, Maya's gentle one, and he thought about the day he first saw this land, lonely and empty. He never imagined it would give him a family. When the wind blew across the valley carrying the scent of rain and pine, he could almost hear the whisper of that old promise, made under the open sky between a quiet cowboy and 2 brave sisters. who had taught him that home is not something you find. It is something you build together heart by heart.